In this lesson, I am going to speak my mind, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about these idioms and expressions. And this is actually the first idiom that I want to teach you, and that is to speak one's mind. It means to say what you're thinking openly and honestly. And when it comes to, well, the word mind, you're really referring to a person's thoughts. Similar to the way somebody would ask, well, what's on your mind? In this case, they're asking, what are you thinking? But as far as speaking your mind, in that case, you are speaking and saying and sharing your thoughts with another person. And you may hear people use this as like a standalone statement, kind of like giving a command to another person. And you would say, hey, speak your mind. And in this situation, probably the other person is thinking something and they want to say what they're thinking, but perhaps they just haven't yet. And you are just telling them, hey, I want to know what you're thinking. Speak your mind. Tell me openly and honestly. Or you could use this to encourage a person to speak honestly and say, hey, don't be afraid to speak your mind. All right, you should share what you're thinking honestly and openly. Don't be afraid to speak your mind.
You don't think we can win?
Yeah, I speak my mind, Your Grace.
Have you not been speaking your mind, Lord Carthag?
I think you lost this war.
And throughout this lesson, I am going to speak my mind. I'm going to do that right now and tell you that if you would like to practice and improve your English, please subscribe, turn on notifications. That way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It's all about helping you reach your fluency goals so that you are not afraid to speak your mind and tell others what you think. So in this lesson, I am going to teach you a lot of different idioms and expressions that all have the word speak or talk. Not only am I going to give you the meaning, but I will talk to you about how the idiom and expression is used, because if you're going to use them, you want to make sure that you are using them in the correct context. The next one that I have for you is speaking from experience. This means that you are talking about something having had prior experience so that what you have to say is more credible and that you have a worthwhile viewpoint. And really, I think the key word is credible, because if somebody says, well, speaking from experience, it's kind of like you're letting somebody know that, well, you are an authority figure when it comes to this topic or this situation because you have prior experience. Now, just because somebody says this and they say speaking from experience, that does not necessarily mean that they are a professional. It just means that this person has some experience, so perhaps they have some valuable insight. So you may hear people share their viewpoint and then say, well, I'm speaking from experience, so that you know this person is credible. Or you can use this as an introductory phrase before sharing your viewpoint. So I could say, speaking from experience, I think one of the best ways to learn another language is to continuously get exposure to the language. And I'm talking about my experience when I was learning both Spanish and Korean. I would try to get as much exposure to each language, listening and reading, and then I would try to practice using the language with speaking and writing. And I'm just speaking from experience. Okay, so I tried to use it both ways, once to introduce my viewpoint and then again just to reaffirm it at the end and tell you, hey, I'm speaking from experience.
Secrets create barriers between people. Speaking from experience, believe me.
The next idiom that I have for you is to talk one's ear off. And what this means is to talk to someone for a long time, often excessively and loudly. So really, it's a situation in which you feel like the conversation should be shorter, but it just goes on and on and on because the person is talking your ear off. Now, it's not really a good thing, but because it could be more negative if you say someone is talking your ear off, because people may not like that. But people also use this jokingly as well. Perhaps my wife might say, hey, if you start talking about football, my husband is going to talk your ear off, which tells you that I am a fan of the sport and that I like to talk about it, and I might talk about it a little too much and talk your ear off. Now, this is an idiom that you may not often say directly to another person. Perhaps you might use it apologetically and say, hey, sorry for talking your ear off, in which case you're letting the person know that you're probably talking a little too much. But more often you may use this idiom to talk about, well, another person and say that they were talking your ear off about some topic. I could say, I went to the party last night and I saw one of my work colleagues and he just started talking my ear off about a presentation that he has to give next week, and it's a party. I don't want to talk about work. So I quickly tried to get out of that conversation. And then I talked to the host of the party who was just complaining about the weather and was going on and on about it and was just talking my ear off. So I wanted to get out of that conversation, and ultimately I just left the party. So those are a couple of examples using this idiom to talk one's ear off.
You two have a great time getting to know each other. Don't let this one talk your ear off. She's the type of girl who just loves to talk.
That's Mrs. Robertson. Watch out, she will talk your ear off.
Right now, I want to take a moment to tell you about my speaking course, and I'm just going to speak my mind, and I will try not to talk your ear off. So Speak Up is a course for intermediate to advanced speakers, and it's really all about trying to help you speak confidently, speak clearly, and speak naturally. Check out the link in the description if you would like to join or learn more information, and when you click on that link and go to the course page, you will find a special discount just for you. So each week there is a different speaking topic. You will learn vocabulary related to that topic. We do engaging speaking activities. At the beginning of each lesson, we warm up with something related to pronunciation or connected speech. There are also pronunciation video lessons included in the course. In addition, I'll teach you some of the language nuances, like when to use certain words and phrases. So click on the link below if you would like to sign up, and I really hope you consider enrolling, because perhaps you are someone who thinks, yeah, I would like to practice and improve my speaking skills. And maybe you tell this to yourself, but in the end, actions speak louder than words. And that is a nice segue into our next expression, which is actions speak louder than words. So this is actually a proverb, which means that actions are more revealing of one's true character, because it's easy just to say things and make promises, and it takes more effort to actually do something and follow through. Actions speak louder than words. Now, you can use this proverb in a variety of situations, like perhaps somebody is just talking about some of the things that they want to do or they're planning to do, and maybe you don't really believe this person. You could use this proverb and say, hey, actions speak louder than words. In this case, it's like you're telling them, hey, show me, all right? Don't just talk about it, let's see you do it. Or you could use this in a situation in which somebody talks about one thing, but then their actions are doing like completely the opposite. And I can give you a great example when it comes to this. Think about politicians. They like to say things all the time, say the things they're going to do or say the things they believe in. But when it comes time to vote, which would be their action, they do the exact opposite. So in this case, you could say, hey, actions speak louder than words. Your actions really reveal your true character and what you truly believe in. Actions speak louder than words.
He's just a loader. They don't allow them to communicate.
But what if he has something to say?
Actions speak louder than words.
The next expression is one that I really like, and it's one that I hear from time to time, and that is like talking to a brick wall. And what this means is that you are unsuccessfully trying to persuade or reason or talk with someone who just does not listen or does not react. And I think people would say this out of frustration, and they would say, well, it's like talking to a brick wall. And it's an expression that I think we can all relate to. Sometimes my wife says this when trying to talk to me. I might be on the computer and I'm really concentrating on something. Maybe I have my headphones in and she is talking to me at the same time, perhaps asking me something, and I'm not I'm not ignoring her. I kind of, out of the corner of my eye or the corner of my ear, I can hear that she's saying something. And the one thing that I do catch is her saying, it's like talking to a brick wall because I'm not listening and I'm not reacting. And she would say,
ugh, it's like talking to a brick wall.
She says it just like that. All right. Another time when you may use this expression is when you're trying to reason with someone who is just unwilling to listen. Perhaps this person is just really stubborn and it doesn't matter what you say or the reasons that you give, they're just not going to listen. And again, out of frustration, you could say it's like talking to a brick wall.
What did he talk about? Did he talk about rugby or what did he talk about? Francois, it's like talking to a brick wall. What did he say?
I think he wants us to win the World Cup.
Next is the phrase on speaking terms. And this just refers to a mutual relationship that is limited to casual greeting or just casual conversation. It means that you're friendly enough to talk. Now, the one thing that I want you to know about this idiom is that often you're going to use it in the negative with the word not, to say that you are not on speaking terms with someone, in which case it's like you're saying that you had a falling out. And you and this other person, you are no longer talking. So we can actually use Ngram Viewer to show you which one is more common. And as you can see, it's more common to say that you are not on speaking terms with someone than to use this idiom in the affirmative and say that you are on speaking terms. And because it involves two people, you're really going to use it with the subjects we or they. We're not on speaking terms or they're not on speaking terms. Now, as far as using this idiom, you may hear people use it in the context of, well, like somebody is asking about someone from your past and asking like, hey, do you still talk to Dave and keep up with Dave? Now, maybe I don't know that you and Dave, well, you had a falling out. And then you could tell me, look, yeah, we're not on speaking terms. Or perhaps a situation where you're asking about an ex-husband or an ex-wife, and then this person might say, well, unfortunately, we're not on speaking terms. You could also use it in a situation in which you're asking someone to talk to another person. If I asked you and say, hey, can you talk to Dave and convince him to join our team? And again, I don't know that you had a falling out, and you would just tell me like, look, we're not on speaking terms. You should ask someone else because Dave and I, we're just not on speaking terms.
Call him.
The Avengers broke up. We're toast.
Broke up?
Cap and I fell out hard. We're not on speaking terms.
Then we have to talk one's way into something or out of something. And it means to persuade people to do something or to not do something by the reasons that you give. So if you talk your way into something, you are persuading someone to give you something or maybe allow you to do something. I could say he talked his way into getting a promotion. Okay, he got a promotion. Or we talked our way into the private party and they allowed us to enter. If you talk your way out of something, then you're persuading someone not to give you something, perhaps a punishment, or persuading them not to make you do something like chores or work. So I could say she got pulled over by the police and she talked her way out of a driving ticket. She persuaded the police officer not to give her a ticket. Or maybe I tell you, you have to write to me in the comments. It's like I'm making you do something. And you are trying to talk your way out of it and persuade me not to make you do this, and I'm not buying it. And I say, look, you're not going to talk your way out of this. All right, that is a statement that you may often hear if somebody's trying to persuade the other person and they just don't believe it and they're not going to fall for it. They may say, you're not going to talk your way out of this. Okay, I'm still going to make you do this thing. The other thing that I wanted to point out with this idiom is that it is more common to hear people say they're going to talk their way out of something than talk their way into something. So comparing these two phrases, you can see that it's more common to talk your way out of something.
I'm not letting you just throw your life away. I'm going to talk our way out of this.
Start a new life there, meet a local girl, fall in love, talk my way into a line job at a textile plant.
Next is the phrase, as we speak, and it just means at this exact moment right now. And really, it just adds emphasis to whatever it is you're talking about. You might say, it's happening as we speak. And there's really a sense of urgency. So you can use this phrase at the beginning of a statement. And I could say, hey, as we speak, there is a crowd forming outside the building, and perhaps a protest is going to begin. And yeah, there's a sense of urgency. Or I could use it at the end of a statement and tell you, the plane is boarding as we speak. We need to go right now because the plane is boarding as we speak.
Even as we speak, millions of children are staring at the TV instead of getting some much needed exercise.
And then there's to talk some sense into someone. And this means that you are talking to someone and really trying to persuade them to see reason. And what it makes me think is that this other person is perhaps scared or angry. There's a lot of emotion involved, and you may be trying to talk some sense into this person. And it really implies that this other person is perhaps out of control and they're not listening to anyone. So maybe I say, well, look, Dave is out of control. Can you please try to talk some sense into him? Right now, it's like talking to a brick wall. He won't listen to me or anyone else. So please, please try to talk some sense into him. And then maybe once again, you tell me, sorry, we're not on speaking terms. I can't help you because Dave and we're not on speaking terms. You're going to have to find someone else to try and talk some sense into him.
Dad, Mom is crazy. Can't you talk some sense into her?
I hope you learn some new idioms and expressions and you don't feel like I just talked your ear off this entire lesson, because I know that when you watch these videos, you're paying close attention, and because of that, I never feel like I'm talking to a brick wall. And please check out the link down in the description if you'd like to learn more about my speaking course. There are people signing up as we speak. And of course, yeah, write to me in the comments. I always encourage you to speak your mind and tell me what you're thinking. And I'm just trying to get you a little bit of review. But I hope that you enjoyed the lesson. And if you did, please hit that like button. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.